10 years from now, you still want to be making that same amount when the economy and the price of money and housing is going up. We're not going to be able to afford this in 10 years. So therefore, are you ambitious? And that's why women, we don't, I can speak for myself. I don't mind dating a man that makes a little less than me as long as he has ambitions to build our family.
But how many times have women like built with a man, and then once he gets to a certain bracket that he wants to be, he takes off and he goes finds his dream woman. It wasn't you, like, you know what I mean?
And
And I'm not.
I
And I
was
don't mean
thinking
that.
the same thing when she was
Yeah,
talking.
and I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but a lot of times that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like,
someone showing up as their best selves does not mean that they are, one, a good person, or two, that they are good for us, right? Like some of these people that are high earners, them showing up as what they believe to be their best selves may not be their partner's idea of somebody's best, right? So I think in this context of, like, at least my stance on it, we're assuming that somebody's best self means that they're good, or that they're good for us, right? That's up to us to discern whether or not we fit in that. But the same way that we're looking at these high earners, when we look at men who are not able to sustain a lifestyle for themselves, let alone bringing somebody else into it, those men are also getting left because women feel insecure in their spot. And so to me, there's that aspect of that if you can't afford to bring me into your life, right? Even if it is a 50-50, even if it is a dynamic that you are comfortable with, if you cannot afford to bring me into your life, am I really secure? Does the emotional aspect really count if we're struggling to meet basic needs?
Let me ask you a question real fast, because I think that sometimes we do the extreme of things. Like, you're thinking, okay, a guy who can barely, pay bills, and then you have the high earner. What about all those guys in between? Maybe he's making 70,000. Not everybody has to make over 100,000, and he's secure in himself. So I think that whenever we say, oh, you want to date a guy this, people automatically think, oh, she's talking about this rich guy. No, we're not talking about them either. I mean, that would be nice, but no, we're not always talking about the millionaire or the guy who's making, six figures. There are guys in between there. There's a whole lot of thousands in between there who we could be talking about. And there are a lot of those men. So I think that should be looked at. It doesn't have to be the extreme of things. And I wouldn't look at him as being, if he's making $65,000, $70,000, depending on where you are, you may say that's good enough, or that's great. I'm secure enough financially with that. So
you saying that, I'm gonna go and ask every lady, what is the men want to know, because men are always asking what is too low, what is broke to you guys. So I want each lady, if you feel comfortable enough, to say at least which state you live in, and what would be the lowest. If you met a guy and he told you he made a certain amount of money, what would be the lowest you would go as his income? And I'll start with me. I make over 50,000 a year. So therefore, I could be with someone, to me, and build with. I don't mind being with a man that makes 50,000 a year.
What city are you? Where
Oh, I live in Texas. I live in Houston, Texas. So it's like, I feel like that's sustainable in Houston, especially with two incomes. I don't mind building. At first, I didn't want to when I was, in my early, I would say my mid 20s, and the femininity movement was going on. The hypergamous movement was going on. I, jumped on that wave. And I'm like, oh, I want a man that makes six figures. I want this, I want that. And I was going around talking that talk, not realizing like what that even required. I just wanted the lifestyle, and I didn't know, are there men out there who are high earners and a high value man who will treat you right? I do think so, but are there enough to go around? I have to be realistic with myself and say there's not. I pray to God, but that me and my man can build there. And I really thought about the value in building with a man, and taking away that fear of, I don't want to build him for somebody else, because I don't believe in that. I feel like if I choose the right man, and that man is a hardworking man, and his character speaks for himself, and he may be a high value man, he's just not a high value earner yet, then I'm willing for us to motivate each other to, okay, babe, what do we need to do? How can I support you? How can I build you up to get to this point where in about 5 years from now, we should be making plans to increase our income? No woman wants a man that's good with just staying in his salary. It's like 10 years from now you still want to be making that same amount when the economy and the price of money and housing is going up. We're not going to be able to afford this in 10 years. So therefore, are you ambitious? And that's why women, we don't I can speak for myself. I don't mind dating a man that makes a little less than me, as long as he has ambitions to build our family. So I would say for me, although I make more than that, I would be willing to be with a man, even if you know what, if he even is good with his finances, 45,000 a year. I would even say that, and that's probably the lowest I'll go out in the dating world. I wouldn't, but it's like as long as he has ambition to build, but our incomes together, and as long as you can take me out and we can go out and do things together, and you know how to save, and you're not just out blowing your money and just being irresponsible, I think that's realistic. But I live in Texas. I live in Houston specifically, and I think that's if you're a single man with no kids. Now, if you got kids, you know what? That's actually a good one. If you have kids, it would definitely have to be it would. Because it's like how many. I wouldn't date a guy with too many crazy amount of kids. But if you have a kid or two, that's gonna add into it. I didn't think about that because
Can I
then you
ask you a
got child
question?
support. Mm-hmm.
So you said something about like building and like having a man with ambition and stuff, but like how many times, and I'm just asking you or any of you ladies personally, but how many times have women like built with a man, and then once he gets to a certain bracket that he wants to be, he takes off and he goes finds his dream woman? It wasn't you. Like, you know what I mean? And,
You
and
know
I'm
what?
not,
I
and I
was
don't mean
thinking
that.
the same thing when she was
Yeah,
talking.
and I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but a lot of times that's what happens. You know what I mean? Like women are
It,
like, I'm
it,
gonna
it
put
I
up
depends,
with
think you
him.
have
but
I'm
to
gonna
put
but I feel like
parameters.
but
and
I
then you
feel
You
out
have
like
to put parameters around that
buying and
though
trying to burn
too.
clothes.
yeah, but
Things to
but
buy.
you also that's when you use discernment of what type of man you're building with.
Well,
Because
you
that
should.
his
Well,
character
I
will
would
show
say
up.
you should probably.
He's not gonna be this perfect man this entire time to you. It's gonna be signs where he's online flirting with other girls that don't look like you, or he's following other girls that don't look like you, or he's, you look
Being
at his past dating history, and if he's hitting a hard time. Like a lot of y'all want to use the extremes of, well, I seen it like, well, he
No,
built
no, no.
there's a lot of women personally that I know that build with the man, and that man did not leave them. He values her more because she built with him. She's not like he's at the top and now he's looking at all these women like, oh, now y'all want to be with me. He's gonna treat y'all like an option because y'all treated him like he was an option because y'all didn't want to build with him. So
Let me just say this real fast. I think that what she's saying is, I heard the number you say, and in 5 years from now. I just hope that within that 5 years, you guys are like solidifying the future, meaning,
right.
okay,
Right.
I'm your woman, let's get engaged, and you're building
Right.
together as a family, not you as a girlfriend. You're
Right.
just building on financial, building as a bond, and then it's okay because that's your husband. You guys are building towards a real family, not a. Because let's be honest, only 52% of Black women marry. So along the line, it's only 48% of Black men. So you have to keep those numbers in mind because people can build with you and they can even be with you and you never be the wife.
Right.
So,
Right.
There's
You
that,
have
but
to use
there's also
discernment. You can't just be building with any man. Like ladies, we
absolutely.
can't be keep using this extreme of like he's gonna leave. If that man's gonna show you signs, and that's when you ask God to send you and protect you from those type of men. You'll know. Like, for example, I was talking to one of my subscribers. She's been with this man for 10 plus years. He been using her car for 10 years. He had DWIs and couldn't drive. He didn't have a job, and he jumped from one relationship to her relationship. So the signs were there. She built with him, had kids with him. They built this life together. And when he finally was able to get his driver's license and make some money, now he's making money. And now he has his own car. He left the family and he left her because during that time, she was beating him down because he wasn't nothing. So she was telling him, you ain't this, you ain't that, you ain't got no car, you this, you that, because she doesn't respect him. She doesn't respect him because he wasn't being a man. And then also you taking care of a man and not letting that man figure it out himself to be a man, he's not going to respect you. So now he's going to look at you and go for the women that wouldn't even look his way 10 years ago. Now he's looking at you like you're beneath him.